I've already told you guys a little bit about me, but before we dive in, I want to tell you guys a little bit more. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, I told you I like spicy stuff. Let me see you again. Who's with me with spicy? Okay, great. Okay, other random, I see you, Will. Other random things about me is that I grew up kind of moving around all the time. Is anybody not from Orlando? Anybody? Okay, there's a few of us. Okay, so I was born in Colorado, all the way in Colorado. Then I grew up in Atlanta. Then I moved back to Colorado, and then I moved to Florida. Okay, so I've been kind of moving around and grooving around a lot before I got to Orlando. And I have a pretty big family. I have some pictures, actually, that I brought just to show you. This is my family. I have 4 siblings, and I'm the oldest. Okay, who are my oldest siblings? Okay, I see you. I have 4 siblings and a sister-in-law. This is my sister. She lives with me. Can you imagine living with your sister? Anyone? Yeah, it's so fun. It's not sad. No. No, it's so fun. Look at us. We go to concerts. We have a great time. We love living together. Another thing about me is I love to read. Who loves to read? Okay. I have a book club. Next picture. I'm in a book club. Is that lame or cool? It's a little both. Okay, it's a little bit both. I also love to go to Universal. Who's there? Who likes Universal? Okay, great. All right. I love it. These are my friends. This is our student ministry team at Movement. We are truly friends. We love each other. We especially love to go to Universal together. And then lastly, I want to tell you that I have a dog. His name is Turner. Caroline knows my dog, Turner. She's watched him a few times. I have a picture of him as well. Can you handle it? It's so cute. Look at the t-shirt. Can you handle it? It's so good. Hey, another thing about me that's a little bit sad is that when I was your age, when I was in 5th grade and in middle school, I got bullied. Okay, you don't have to raise your hand if that's you, but I'm sure there is somebody in this room that is experiencing that too. And when I was in 5th grade, it was really bad. When I was your age, it was really bad. And I ended up moving to another school in the middle of the year because it was so bad to get away from these people. But as many of you 5th graders know, as you're about to go to 6th grade, I went to a new school, right? And these bullies of mine followed me to this school. They were there. And one day, I'm walking through the car rental lane. I'm with my best friend, Casey, and I'm waiting for my mom to pick us up. And these bullies, these group of girls that were always making fun of me for my appearance or for how bad I was doing in school or whatever, they bust through me and Casey, and my lunchbox goes everywhere, and my papers fly everywhere, and I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm used to it. It happens all the time. I'm just going to pick my stuff up and mind my own business and pretend like it didn't happen. But Casey said, oh, no, we're not doing this. And so Siri's talking to me. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Casey goes, no, we're not doing this. And so she goes up to these girls and does the exact same thing that they did to me. She busts through the middle of them, and they drop their papers, and they drop their lunchbox, and they drop their stuff. And I was shocked. I was like, and in that moment, I felt so conflicted because I was like, I don't know that I would have done that. I'm not going to lie to you. But also, I felt kind of good because it felt good for somebody to stand up for me. Right? It felt good for me to be in this moment where I felt like an injustice was being done to me. I was being bullied for nothing, and for someone loving me enough to say, no, that's not okay. I'm going to stand up for you. Maybe this is a story that you're familiar with. Maybe you've been like me, and you've been bullied, or you've been experiencing an injustice in some way, and a friend of yours has stood up for you, and you're like, oh, thank God I have somebody that loves me like this. Or maybe you've been that friend. You've been like Casey, and you're not being bullied, but someone that you love is, and you're like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not having this. Or maybe you are like me, and you've been bullied, and you are waiting desperately for somebody to stand up for you like Casey did. No one has, and you really want them to. Wherever you are in that story, I think the concept of us standing up for people, or people standing up for us, is a really important concept. And as we finish this series, or as we continue in this series all about confidence, we're going to read a story about Esther. Has anybody ever heard of Esther before? Okay, Esther is a story of a woman who stands up for people, a lot like my friend Casey. She finds herself in this opportunity to make the right choice, to stand up for people, and she does. She makes the right choice, and she stands up for people. So we're going to dive into the story. It's a lot. There's 10 chapters. We're not going to read all 10 chapters. We're going to kind of dive in and out of it, and we'll explain this story and what it means for us, okay? All right, so there's a few people I need to introduce you to before we get into this, okay? One of them is Esther, okay? Somebody say Esther. Okay, there's a king. His name is Ahasuerus. Somebody say Ahasuerus. Really emphasize the Ahasuerus. Yeah. Okay, then there's another guy named Mordecai. Say Mordecai. Okay, so who you need to know is that Esther was raised by Mordecai. Okay, so Esther and Mordecai are in a family together. He is the cousin of Esther, and he raised her because she lost her parents. And so he raised her up, and they're living in this region that's now like modern-day Pakistan, and they are in the kingdom of King Ahasuerus. Okay, they're living in this region, and King Ahasuerus is a powerful guy, and he's married to this queen, and she disobeys him. He says, come here, and she says, no, I'm not coming there. And he gets angry about that. And so he strips off her crown, he strips her of her title, and he says, no, I'm going to display my power, and I'm getting her out of here. So he's really powerful, and it's great, but he doesn't have a queen anymore. And so now he is lonely, and he has to go through this process of finding a queen. And so he calls all these women in the region, and he says, okay, I'm going to put them all through these like spa beauty treatments for a year. A year. Girls, does this sound fun or like horrible to you? Maybe a little bit of both. You're like, I'll take a spa day, but like for a year, it's kind of a lot, right? So he does this thing, it's kind of like Cinderella, this like kingdom-wide search for a queen. And Esther is among these women. She's there with Mordecai in this for a year, going through all of these beauty treatments. And in Esther 2, it says this about Esther. Esther 2:15 says, now Esther was winning favor in the eyes of all who saw her. And when Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus into his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, it's just giving us a framework of where we are. In the 7th year of his reign, the king loved Esther more than all of the women. Okay, this is really important, and I want you to see here. The king loved Esther more than anybody else, and so he made her queen. Okay, so get this picture, okay? Esther's just a girl. She's just a normal girl living with Mordecai, living her life, and she gets invited to be a part of this spa treatment beauty regimen for the king for a year. And a year later, she becomes queen. Okay, imagine that. Imagine you have an opportunity to meet with the vice president or the president of the United States, and a year later, you become president of the United States. Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about this. And the thing I want you to notice here, listen, the thing I want you guys to notice here is that Esther was given an extraordinary opportunity. Okay, this is not a normal opportunity. Do you see that? A year from today, you become queen or king of a region. That's a crazy opportunity. And when the Bible says here that Esther was winning favor with everybody, this is giving us a little nod here that God is with her, that God is paving this way for her. Can you imagine being in a group of people, specifically with women, who are all trying to become queen? Do you think it's a little competitive? Do you think there's a little jealousy going on? Probably, right? But the Bible tells us that everyone loved Esther. And I want you to see that God was with her in this way, and he's clearly paving the way for her to become queen, okay? So now she's queen. She's living in the palace. She's got all these robes. She's living her life, right? But there's a problem. And the problem is that she's been keeping a secret from King Ahasuerus. And the secret is that she's a Jewish woman. Now, Jewish people are the people descended from Abraham, okay? You might be familiar with them. These are people that followed Yahweh. They followed God. And a lot of people didn't like the Jews at this time, mainly King Ahasuerus. And so Mordecai, trying to protect Esther, tells her, hey, keep your Jewish identity a secret. Don't tell King Ahasuerus about this. And so she doesn't. And at the same time as Esther is becoming queen and she's in this season of her life, Mordecai, because he loves her, he's hanging outside the palace all the time. And he's just checking on her. He can't really get that close, but he's trying to be around and make sure she's doing all right. And he's kind of keeping tabs on her. Enter a new character. His name is Haman. Somebody say Haman. Listen, if Haman had a theme song, it would be dun dun dun. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's the bad guy. Spoiler alert, all right? And he sees Mordecai hanging out by the palace, and he says, everybody in here bow down to me. He's a high official. He's full of himself. He wants everybody to bow down and give him honor. What do you think Mordecai does? He says, I'm not bowing down to you. Look at what Esther 3:5-6 says. It says, when Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow down to him or honor him, Haman was filled with fury. He was so angry. But look at this. This tells us everything we need to know about Haman, okay? It says he decided not to fight or hurt Mordecai specifically. He said, I'm not going to lay hands on him. Instead, I'm just going to destroy all the Jewish people. Does that seem a little overreactive to anybody? Right, it's crazy, right? He's like, okay, Haman's not going to bow down to me. I'll kill all the Jews. That's a lot. That's crazy. That tells us everything we need to know about Haman. Okay, so what do you think Mordecai does? He's probably a little nervous, right? He goes to Esther, who's the queen, and he says, Esther, this is what's happened. Our people are in danger. I need you to go to the king and stand up for us. I need you to fight for us. And Esther says, hey, I care that this has happened, but listen, there are rules around here. I can't just go up to the king. If I go up to the king without him inviting me in, I'm going to get killed. Like, this is really serious. I can't just go up to the king in this way. And Mordecai clocks her tea, as the kids would say. Okay, look at what he says to Esther in chapter 4, verse 13 and 14. He says, do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Basically, Mordecai is saying to Esther, listen, don't think because you're in this palace with all these robes and all this food and in this position that you are going to get out of this unscathed. He says, what do you think the king is going to do when he finds out you've been lying to him? Sure, he loves you now, but don't think you're going to get out of this because of your position. And then he says something really, really interesting. He says, what if you are here at this kingdom for this reason? What if God put you in this position, gave you favor with all of these people, gave you this extraordinary opportunity for this exact reason? Look at how Esther responds. Chapter 4, verse 15, 17. She says, then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa and hold a fast on my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and I and my young women will also fast. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I die, then I die. Mordecai went away and he did everything Esther had ordered him to do. What I want you to notice here is that Esther was faithful even though she was fearful. Do we think Esther's scared in this moment? Yeah. Probably. The Bible doesn't tell us she's scared. But we can infer based on how she's talking to Mordecai, she's saying, listen, I might die in this moment. I don't know if I can just go to the king. There is some natural fear that she probably has. She's just a person after all, right? This is a really serious situation. She could risk her life doing this. But she says, okay, I want everybody to fast together, and then I will go to the king. And if he kills me, then he kills me. See, so many times in our lives, I think we're faced with opportunities to stand up for people, to do the right thing, to be confident in the Lord, but we don't because of fear. Often we're waiting to feel good about something or to feel confident to make the right decision or to stand up for people. But Esther doesn't do that. Even though she's afraid, she's still faithful. What I also want you to notice here is not just that Esther stands up for people. She doesn't just make the right choice. She doesn't just go to the king or decide to. I want you to notice how she does it. Look back at chapter 4, verse 16. She says, go, gather all of the Jews to be found in Susa and hold a fast on my behalf. Now, she kind of mentions it here, but fasting, if you're not sure or not familiar with this, is when we intentionally refrain or don't eat or drink for a certain period of time. And the reason Christians do this is to focus on prayer, to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I am out of control in this situation. I need you to show up. And this is what Esther does. Before she relies on her own power or her own strength, she goes to the Lord. And this is what I want you to see here. I want you to see that Esther's confidence was in God's power, not in her own power. Can I be honest with you? When I'm faced with an opportunity to stand up for people, when I'm afraid, I don't always go to the Lord first. Can I just be honest about that? I often will rely on what I can do, what's within my power to do. I don't always go to the Lord. This is a lesson I can learn here from Esther. Now, the story goes on, and Haman's a bad guy, and he ends up getting what he deserves. Esther goes to the king on the Jews' behalf, and he accepts her, right? Because he loves her. God's given her this opportunity. And she goes in there, and he says, yes, of course I will save the Jews. I don't even know what Haman was talking about. And Haman ends up dying in a way that he had planned for other people. He gets what he deserves. You might not, in the next year, become queen or king. Probably not going to become president or vice president. But you are, in the next year, in the next week, even today, going to find yourself in a situation where you have to stand up for somebody, or where you see injustice, and you're there. God's given you an opportunity to be there. God's given you a voice to speak into it. And you're going to have to decide, am I going to save myself? Am I going to save my own reputation? Or am I going to do the right thing, even though I'm scared? It might happen at home. It might happen at school. It might happen on your team. It might happen in small group in a minute. You are going to have to choose if you are going to stand up for people, like Casey did to me, or like Esther did for the Jews. The bottom line of this whole thing I want to give you before we go to groups is this. God has given you a voice to stand up for others. God has created you uniquely. He's given you unique gifts. He's placed you in unique situations. You're in your family for a reason. You're at your school for a reason. You're in your small group for a reason. God has given you a voice. And it's going to be probably scary. But like Esther, we can choose to use that voice and these extraordinary opportunities to stand up for each other.